UK prepared to sacrifice free trade deal with China to protect people of Hong Kong, Raab says.
Here's a summary of the article.
Britain is ready to stand up for the rights and freedoms of the people of Hong Kong even at the price of a free trade deal with China, the Foreign Secretary has said. The comments came after Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the UK will pave the way for millions of Hong Kong residents to become British citizens if China presses ahead with the legislation regardless. Equally, we recognise China is a large power, a rising economic power, and is a leading member of the international community. Asked whether the UK was willing to sacrifice a trade deal with China to stand up for its values, the Foreign Secretary said, "Us extending the UK BNO passport holder offer to come to the UK in the way that I have described is not contingent on a free trade deal or anything like that. We wouldn't allow that to get in the way of us living up to our responsibilities as a matter of principle, both for moral reasons and international standing. We will continue having a conversation with China about all of these things. We are not threatening anything. We are just pointing out as a matter of black and white in the joint declaration that China signed that it is in violation, direct violation, of undertakings freely given, and we expect, as we expect any member of the international community as they expect of us, China to live up to those responsibilities. Britain sees China's proposed national security law for Hong Kong as a violation of a Sino-British agreement that both sides signed up to before Hong Kong passed back to Chinese rule in 1997.
This post received a score of 39,000, with an upvote ratio of 95%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Honest question, isn't the UK in the same spot the US is with pretty much all commodity consumer goods coming from Asia, except with even more of it coming from China, and cost of living and environmental regs to make them unaffordable if produced domestically? Or do they have enough non-China commodity goods that this is not effectively impossible without double-digit inflation?
Which is why when production leaves China it's usually to a neighboring Asian country. It's perfectly fine to start economically boosting up those countries instead of China, given the circumstances. If not right now, then soon. They just need to come up with trade deals for countries like Vietnam, Thailand, and the EU for access to cheap products from the eastern EU countries.
They should likely promote trade with other countries regardless. I was trying to get a feel for how quickly they could pull the trigger on this, or if this is just talk and it will take a few years for anything to happen.
There's nothing coming out of China about this, and you'd expect it as Boris made these noises a few days ago. Boris Johnson's popularist politics and that of his advisers leads me to believe this is a nothing burger, in that the Hong Kong 3 million will dwindle to 300 by the time the Conservative government have finished screwing with the eligibility criteria for access. I might be wrong, I hope I'm wrong.
This is actually the first time I've heard the word nothing burger, but I like how it's instantly easy to understand just by visualizing it.
This has been inevitable ever since we gave Hong Kong back to them.
The deal was 50 years of maintained autonomy. China broke the agreement.
In creating a compromise suitable to both sides, the one country, two systems, both sides were initially happy with this, because they could then place greater emphasis on either of the two components of this phrase to their liking. Now when separatists dislike the influence of Beijing, they can say they're not respecting the principle of two systems, while those in Beijing can equally say they're not respecting the principle of one country. I'm not saying the deal should never have been made, perhaps the alternative would have been much worse. This is just one of the shitty consequences of colonialism.
I think the 50 years was made with the assumption that China would develop its style of government alongside its economy.
The 50 years was made because the British leadership wanted to kick the problem down the line, and Chinese leadership was willing to do the same.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.